Hi, I'm Sarah. Welcome to the Daily English Show. Today's guest is John. John has been coordinating WWOOF Canada for many years. When he took over in the 80s, there were only about 4 or 5 farms, and now there are about 650. John's also a WWOOF host himself. Today I asked him about coordinating WWOOF and about being a host.
WWOOF hosts will often say we can't travel, but the world comes to our door, and I feel the same way. You know, I've met some truly amazing, wonderful, interesting people through the WWOOF program. Everyone brings a gift, and it's up to the host to recognize that gift, that present that a woofer can bring. We often get the question, do I need experience to go to a farm and help? And we say no, you don't need experience, you just need a good attitude. And try your best, and you will have a level of success that you will be happy with and make your own contribution.
Kia ora, in Stick News today, the Nelson Council has approved a controversial development.
Kootenay Landing is a 4-building, 5-storey development planned for Nelson's waterfront. After a 5.5-hour public hearing, 4 councillors voted for the project and 2 voted against. The Express reported Councillor Deb Kozak's decision to support the project drew small gasps from the audience. Councillor Kozak explained her decision. "It's not a perfect development," she said, "but I don't believe it's all that bad." Councillor Turbo said it was clear Nelson was against a 5-storey building. "This is a huge, massive project for the waterfront," he said. "It will put a divider in the middle of the waterfront." And Councillor Adams was happy about the development. "We need development," he said. "If we don't have development, we're going to die."
And that was Stick News for Monday, the 2nd of July. Kia ora. Why did you decide to start WWOOF Canada? How many people do woofing in Canada every year? Why do you think woofing is a good idea? What's the most challenging thing about organising WWOOF?
WWOOF Canada wasn't really my decision as such. I was living in Nova Scotia back in the mid-80s, and there was an English lady who had brought over the idea to Nova Scotia, and after a year she decided to go back to England and asked if I would take over this little baby fledgling WWOOF organization. At the time she owned, she had maybe 3 or 4 farms, but she had become acquainted with the idea of WWOOF through England, WWOOF England. And I've been involved in volunteer organizations before, on a kibbutz in Israel, and in Canada here there's a program called Katimavik, which is also a volunteer thing. So I took it over and then just started promoting it all across the country. We sign up approximately 2,000 woofers a year, and that's been fairly steady the last few years. From those 2,000, about 45% are Canadians, and the other 55% come from overseas. The main countries are Japan, Europe, meaning Germany and England, and then the United States, and then 2-3 from many different other countries. We've calculated about a total of 30 different countries participate. Well, originally it started in promoting the organic farm movement that is a bit more work or labor intensive. And it's important that we support the organic food movement and farms. And I think slowly the consciousness of Western society is being increased about where our food sources are coming from. So that's very, very important that we learn about good, healthy food and our food choices. Secondly, I think WWOOF has also become a cultural exchange. I see that more and more within Canada and all the other countries that are involved in. As an Australian or someone from New Zealand coming to Canada, you learn about Canadian culture. Or the Japanese that come here and want to improve their English, so they call it a farm stay, and have the opportunity of learning English and living with a Canadian family. And on top of that, they also learn about, organic food and gardening and farming. So I think it's a very twofold way of traveling. Plus, on top of it all, it is an inexpensive way to travel rather than going from city to city and hostel to hostel. Here you can go out in the country from farm to farm and you have a much more interesting experience with your travels. That's a good question. What is the most challenging? There are problems. It doesn't happen often, but the most challenging would be that woofers, the volunteers, are happy with the farm hosts, and the hosts are happy with their volunteers. And there are occasional problems, miscommunication, language challenges. The volunteers feel sometimes maybe they're exploited, asked to work long hours when the international WWOOF standard is 4 to 6 hours a day, and some places they're asked to work 6, 7, and 8. Sometimes the accommodation might not be up to standards or appropriate. So there's problems that we have to deal with for both sides. And what we've learned that there's always two sides to every story. So if someone complains, we take the complaints very seriously, and yet we need to hear what the other side says. And worst case scenario, we'll delete a host that doesn't come up to the standards. Doesn't happen very often, but it has happened.
Who started WWOOF Canada? A. John. B. An Englishwoman. B. Where was John living when he decided to take over the WWOOF coordination? A. Nelson. B. Nova Scotia. B. How many people do woofing in Canada every year? A. 200. B. 2,000. B. What percentage of those people come from Canada? A. 45. B. 55. A. John said deleting WWOOF hosts. A. Doesn't happen very often. B. Often happens. A.
And that was the Daily Englisher. See you tomorrow.